What's up guys? Justin Lee from Big at Tennis, and in this video we're gonna go over my 3 must-know tips to help improve your forehand. Tip number 1 is dropping the racket head before contact. After taking our racket back and dropping our racket head facing down, our wrist will be in a constricted state where it creates tension between our arm and our wrist. This in turn will generate more power as we release and swing towards the ball. Think of it as a bow and arrow. In order for the bow to create the greatest amount of force onto the arrow, it has to be pulled back and let go in one motion. When we drop our racket and tuck the wrist, we in turn are creating the greatest amount of force we can generate onto the ball. Not only this, but dropping the racket can help keep our racket away from our body. Keeping the racket away from our body will not only generate more power on the ball, but it will help any further injuries with our wrist and elbow. The number one reason why tennis players have tennis elbow is because they close their elbow to their body, and in turn creates a large amount of pressure onto the focal point, which is their elbow. By having our racket facing down before contact, we minimize the risk of bringing our elbow into our body and maximizing the ability to generate more power onto the ball. Tip number 2 is keeping the swing motion forward. Many of my students ask, doesn't my swing motion have to be extremely up in order to create topspin? And the answer is yes, but to a certain extent. The common term I hear other coaches say is to swing low and high, but I try to avoid this when I teach this to my students. This is because when we generate an extremely amount of topspin, many times, some more than others, we tend to also lose a tremendous amount of power or depth. We see this when beginners have extremely low to high swings and are having troubles even getting the ball over the net when the coaches tell them to swing quicker and faster, or when the students are forced to swing deeper into the court, but don't realize that it doesn't mean to hit the ball harder, but just to change the angle of the swing motion to compensate for the depth. In order to create more depth onto the ball and generate more power and topspin, we want to make sure that we keep the swing motion forward rather than upwards. Tip number 3 is making sure our shoulders is turned before contact. Now I know, this tip seems so simple, but it actually can be the hardest to master. Simply making sure you keep your shoulders turned when you take your unit turn can drastically increase the amount of power onto our forehand. Keeping the shoulder turned until contact can assist by transferring our body weight onto the ball and not just our arms to generate the power. The hips and legs are the driving force to the forehand, and so by turning, we can activate and optimize the most power. Not only this, but by turning the shoulders, it forces us to take our racket back, which would also aid in generating more acceleration when we get into the strike zone of the ball. So there you have it guys, those are my 3 must-know tips to improve your forehand. As you start incorporating these tips, make sure you practice in a controlled setting where you're not playing a match, nor are you rallying against an opponent. If you apply these 3 tips, you should be able to take your forehand to a whole new level, which in turn will help you grow your tennis game and prevent some common tennis injuries. Before you go though, check out our Federer forehand guide, where I've dissected exactly what Federer does when he hits his forehand. It's free to download and a gift to you, so check the link in the description box below. But that's it for this video. If you have any further questions, please let us know in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe to our channel for more informative tennis content. Thanks, and happy tennis.